What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about the best positions to play based on your height and weight. So the first three positions we're going to focus on, you guys, is quarterback, wide receiver, and DB. So as a quarterback, you guys, I'm a firm believer that, like, to a certain extent, your height and your weight really doesn't matter, because quarterback is one of the most skilled positions on the field. Like, at the end of the day, what a quarterback needs to do is he needs to be able to read a defense, make good decisions, throw accurate throws, and have some arm strength. And if you have all of those attributes, like, honestly, like, if you're on the shorter side of things, it really doesn't matter. If you're on the taller side of things, it really doesn't matter. Can you play the position? So quarterback, I'm not going to necessarily name height and weight. Like, if you're obviously, like, if you're a freshman in high school, because we're going to base this entire video off of freshman and high school statistics. So if you're not a freshman in high school, use this as kind of like a benchmark. Like, hey, I think I'm going to be about that size. Maybe the doctor projects me to be about that size. Okay, that's a good position for me, right? But, like, if you're like 4'11" and you're a freshman in high school, like, okay, maybe quarterback's not the spot for you, right? But if you're like 5'2", 5'3", you know, like deemed shorter in high school, but you can rip and you can flat out play, you can play the quarterback position. I know that's small, but I'm just using that as an example. If you can flat out play, you can flat out play when it comes to quarterback. Now, let's talk about receivers and DBs. So for wide receivers, if you're on the shorter side of things, like let's say you're like 5'4", 5'3", 5'5", and you're skinnier, right? Like 110, 120 pounds, slot receiver's a good spot for you. Let's say you're on the taller side of things as a freshman, or average, like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", whatever, and you're thinner, like maybe 140 pounds, 150 pounds, whatever. You could run, you got some speed, probably playing outside wide receiver. Now, those same attributes, like the 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", thinner, can run, you're fast, but you can't catch, that's when I would recommend playing DB. So those three positions right there, you guys, that's mapped out for you. If you're not sure what to play, you're confused on what to play, that's what I'd recommend. Now, fellas, we are excited to announce that we just released the next 15 cities that we are going to be traveling to in 2026 for our 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So, guys, if you go to that very first link in the description below, that's where you can sign up. All of our camps this past year sold out, each one of them probably 3 to 4 months in advance of when the camp actually happened. So we just had a camp yesterday in Los Angeles, California. That camp sold out like it was in July. That camp sold out like all the way in like April, you guys. So make sure you take advantage of us having availability for this next upcoming off season. So, guys, go to that very first link in the description below and see if we are coming to a city near you. So now let's talk about the rest of the positions here, you guys. We got running backs, linebackers, tight ends, safeties, and then O-line and D-line. And again, these numbers are based on freshmen in high school, okay? So let's start with running backs. I would say, like, think about the height that we discussed for slot wide receivers, right? Like, you're like 5'5", 120 pounds, probably a slot. Now, if you're like 5'5", 5'6", but let's say you're like 160 pounds, 170 pounds, you're a thicker dude and you have some athleticism, you have some quickness, you have some speed, running back's probably a good spot for you, right? Could you be taller than that? Absolutely, right? I'm just saying that generally that's where it kind of works out. Shorter but thicker, running back. Now, if you're a little bit taller than that, like let's say maybe 5'7", 5'8", but let's say you're like 170, 180, maybe 165, and you're on the thicker side of things, probably playing linebacker is a good spot for you, because linebackers tend to be a little bit bigger than running backs and have a little bit less athleticism than running backs. I'm not the biggest fan of them grouping those positions together, like everybody says receiver, DB, running back, linebacker, because I feel like running backs are a lot better athletes than linebackers are when it comes to like speed and explosiveness. Obviously, linebackers are much stronger, in my opinion, than running backs would be, and that's kind of the trade-off, right? Now, let's talk about tight ends. I would say if you're a little bit taller than like the average height of a outside wide receiver, so like let's say average height of a freshman outside wide receiver is like going to be like 5'9", 5'10". If you're like 5'11", 6 foot, and let's say you're not 200 plus pounds, you're like maybe like 185, tight end's probably a great spot for you, okay? And you got to make sure that you have some speed and athleticism too as well to be able to play the tight end position and good hands. Now, safeties, talk about safeties. Safeties, same attributes as a DB. You're just a little bit heavier, right? So we talked about like maybe 5'8", like 130 pounds as an outside wide receiver, or a DB if you have bad hands. Same thing, but like you'd probably be a little bit heavier. So like 5'8", 150 pounds, that would probably be a good size for a safety, okay? Now let's talk about O-line, D-line. Tallest guys on the team generally. So like if you're like 6 foot and above and you're over, I would say probably 195 pounds, like probably more realistically 200 pounds, depending on the program, depending on the size of your guys, probably playing O-line or D-line. Okay, biggest guys on the field, heaviest guys on the field. Now, if you got a little bit more speed and athleticism, quickness, agility, I recommend playing defensive line, because obviously I feel like that requires a little bit more athleticism than offensive line. Not saying offensive linemen aren't good athletes, but I feel like it requires a little bit bit more, so that might be a good gauge for you. And all those positions, you guys, those heights and weights, those different attributes, I think those would be great spots for you to play. But at the end of the day, guys, who am I to tell you what you should play and what you shouldn't play? If you want to go play a position and you have the skills, chances are that's the best spot for you. But this is a common question that I get asked by you guys, so I want to make sure we made a video to help you guys out.